Greetings everyone, my name is Jonathan Bailey. I am from the website Plagiarism Today, which can be found at plagiarismtoday.com, and today I want to answer one of the most vexing questions on the interwebs right now. Just who, is Merlin CDLTD? I still want to know what the CDLTD stands for. Basically though, if you've been anywhere on the YouTubes or the interwebs right now, you've probably at least heard this name mentioned. They are an organization that have been making questionable monetization claims, seems to be mostly monetization claims on videos, including videos that are completely silent, including videos with no music, and generally, not making YouTubers happy. Now, I'm not going to actually claim to fully and 100% know for certain who the heck these guys are, and the reason is because this is mostly being done through YouTube's Content ID system. YouTube Content ID is a pretty vexing and opaque system. I cannot simply check and see who sent a notice at any point. They give you an organization name, but we've had instances in the past where the organization name has been misleading or not particularly helpful at certain times. So it's very possible it could be an organization with a similar name to the one I'm about to describe and not actually them, or it could be something, just a complete imposter. So all these things are entirely possible. That being said, I want to talk about Merlin, the Merlin that I do know and am familiar with. Now, we have to talk briefly about the record industry. Most people who know anything about the record industry know that there are three record labels. It's like the Spanish Inquisition in reverse. There were four, now there's three. The three big ones right now are Warner, Sony, and Universal. There were these guys called EMI, but they recently got closed up and bought out and all that jazz and dispersed amongst the winds, so they are no more. You have the big three, and they control the lion's share of the recorded music industry, including the recorded music licensing. Words, Jonathan. We're going to get there. However, there's also like 20 bajillion independent record labels. Well, actually, there's, according to Merlin, about 20,000 plus, but we're getting to there. And if you're one of these independent labels, you have only a handful of real choices, because you're not really significant enough to be on the stage when it comes to like negotiating royalties with Spotify and Google Music and Grooveshark. Well, not Grooveshark. Sites like that, or SoundCloud actually was the other big one. And that's an issue, because many of these record labels do represent fairly big artists, but they only maybe control one or two artists apiece, and those artists can be easily ignored if Spotify doesn't really care if so-and-so is on their service. They can just trivially skip over those record labels. And besides, it's a really big hassle to try and negotiate licenses with 20,000 odd smaller labels just to get, the handful of artists that they represent. So what these labels did is they banded together to form an organization called Merlin. They represent they have 700 members, and they represent 20,000 plus labels and distributors across 47 countries. These are mostly small, independent labels, most of which, if they represent any mainstream artist that you would recognize, it's probably only one or two. And Merlin basically handles the licensing. Merlin is able to go to, like, for example, SoundCloud and negotiate a deal to license all of the labels that they represent, basically turning it into kind of a de facto fourth major record label for the purpose of licensing music. So if you were Spotify, for example, you need your Sony, you need your Warner, you need your Universal, and you probably want your Merlin too. You want to get that extra little bit of music licensing love from the independents. Now, this illustrates what Merlin is, and it also illustrates why they're a little bit complicated. You see, Merlin doesn't actually have complete control over the library they represent. As I said, they represent some 20,000 labels according to their site, and those 20,000 labels each are responsible for their own libraries, their own databases, their own information, metadata, all that jazz, and Merlin just has to work with what it has. So that may do something to explain why Merlin's a little more prone to making some questionable monetization and copyright claims, though it's not exactly 100% clear if that's what's causing it. But yeah, that brings us to the question is, okay, we understand who Merlin is, at least in like the big picture sense. Why are they sending all these questionable monetization claims? And that I do not know. I can postulate some theories. Like I said, they do represent a wide variety of labels. There could be bad data that could be causing some serious issues. Also, they don't exactly have the enforcement and the budget that the major record labels have, so I don't know who is doing these content ID claims. It could be someone within Merlin, it could be a third-party contractor that they hired, but yeah, someone within the organization or someone representing them is clearly screwing up a lot. And that's not good. And yes, I do believe it is a screw up, and I'll go into why in a later video, but typically with these things, the decisions about who to put content ID claims on or monetization claims on don't come from any higher ups in the company. They're made from much, much lower down. In fact, sometimes really, really low down in the company. So once again, the idea of the mustache twirling villain at the very top of the organization doesn't really pan out. But yeah, so who is Merlin? Just to recap, they are an organization that represents thousands of independent and smaller record labels for the purpose of music licensing, including on YouTube. And they've apparently been making some really, really questionable, i.e. bad monetization claims. Why? I can't say for certain. I can only postulate theories. But hopefully they'll stop. I can give you that. Yeah, so obviously they're not helping the issues ongoing with YouTube and Content ID right now, but maybe that'll change in the not too distant future. That's all I can offer, really. Like I said, and all this is, of course, assuming that Merlin CDLTD is who they at least appear to be. Once again, all we have is an organization name, and that's the one that makes the most sense. Well, on that note, everyone, thank you very much for joining us, and I will see you guys next time.